Okay, so a follow-up on the Pace ADS200 soldering iron station. Drake from Pace, the rep for this area, was here today. So yeah, talk about fast turnaround time. Emailed him in a matter of hours, had a reply. Going to say, can we stop by and drop off the new tips and pick up the old ones because we want them back to to find out, do a failure analysis on them. So yeah, that's the kind of customer support you get with a an older United States company, been around for a long time, and a leader in the industry. That's what you get. Great customer support. And I'm sorry to Pace if I sounded harsh in the first video. It's just I was, I don't know, stunned. I don't know, dumbfounded. I mean, I've been using Pace for years. Like I say, I'm a Pace fanboy. Love your stuff, and just the odds of me get in the order that I got from T Equipment, at least the stuff they had in stock when I ordered it, I've received 11 tips. All the rest of them are supposed to show up God knows when, but out of the 11, to have 3 of those bad, 2 of them not work at all, and 1 of them that, yeah, I'm not sure what happened to it. Now, honestly, thinking about it, I think I might know what happened to it. At least a good guess, educated guess. So you have a heating element and a thermocouple sensor in here. If you remember, and I don't have the base unit up on the bench here because it's installed where it's going to live, which is down under the bench. Frees up my bench space. I don't keep most of my soldering iron stations on top of the bench. They're on the underside. The only thing that's on top of the bench are the stands. And you can see I've even hung another hanger off the side of this already. But anyhow, I think what probably happened is, because as you saw when I had the base unit up here originally, you saw the temperature was still 800 degrees. Had the tip down on the board, not melting solder, and it still said 800 degrees on the display. I think what happened is, of course, the heating element's in there, and then the tip is it's copper. They're what, tin or nickel plated, and then the tip is iron plated. And Pace, that's one reason Pace tips last so long, is they have a very heavy iron plating on their tips. If you're wondering what the iron plating's for, that's why the tips last so long. It's the iron plating. The thicker they make the iron plating, the longer the tips last. It's before it erodes away, because the fluxes, especially a lot of these surface mount fluxes, they're harsh. The modern lead-free, or the fluxes used with lead-free solder, they're very harsh. Pace tips last me, like I say, long time. At least the regular tips. I'll find out what the life is on these things over a period of time. But yeah, I think what might have happened to that other one is, so you've got the metal tip, it's copper. There's and a couple of layers of plated metal on top of that. But that has to then come in contact with the actual heating element inside. If I had to guess, I'd say somehow it lost its thermal bond with that. It obviously worked. It would heat, it'd heat the tip up. I'd melt solder, but then it would cool back down and solidify, and then but the station's still saying it's at 800 degrees. I think what happened there is that it lost its good connection, the heating element, to the tip. So, once it cooled down, the heating element inside not making very good contact, it's still saying, hey, I'm at 800 degrees. It doesn't know the outside edge, the metal part had dropped that drastically in temperature. So I think that's probably what happened. The other two, apparently, I guess what Drake was saying, the first ones they made, they found that they had a problem. That had already been fixed. There was a foil problem in here somewhere. Don't know. I don't make these things, so I have no clue. But that had been caught. I guess I just dumb luck. And if anybody's going to get something that's going to fail, it's me. Hold on. FedEx is calling. Okay, and it got interrupted by FedEx. I wanted to take it. Didn't know if it was a package problem or something. Not on topic, but FedEx is trying to put the post office out of service. They just came out with flat rate boxes. They contacted me to let me know, so yeah, I got to check into that. Hey, that saves you people when I'm shipping stuff to you. So any case, yeah, it's the thermal problem. I think was just maybe a bonding issue. But like I say, great customer support. I got the new tips. He replaced them, gave me a couple extra free ones, my choice. I had the whole pile out, got some free ones. And then as the video title says, there's also another product he gave me, and I'll show that after I get done doing the torture test again with the tip I was having a problem with before. This is their replacement. And that's a cleaner made by MicroCare. So let's get to it. So I've installed the two guys. Lord, I've had these poor connectors in and out of this board probably a dozen times now playing around. Reinstalled them again. Actually, I don't think, I got to be fair here. I don't think I soldered them in on the bottom side, did I? No, I didn't. So the first thing we need to do is resolder the bottom side. Want to make sure we do this. I don't want to fudge it. Because remember I said that was my whole point, is the torture test removing those connectors is you got to heat the solder, you have to melt the solder on the top of the board, you have to heat the connector up hot enough that all four legs get hot enough then to melt the solder on the bottom side of this board, and there's huge ground platings on both sides. So we want to be fair, so I need to resolder them. So down here, turn the station on. Actually, let me move it off to the side. Camera's always in my way. I got to get used to this way I've repositioned this camera mount. I can now swing it out of my way a little bit better. It's not right in front of my blasted face, which was always the problem I had before. Of course, this tip is 10 times bigger than it needs to be for soldering these 4 terminals on each of these. Now I'm not soldering the center conductor on these, obviously, because I can't heat the center conductor from the top. That is something that, you know, when you're removing these, you always need to make sure you desolder that center conductor first. So no, that one is not being resoldered. Just the 4 outside legs that are attached, you know, straight through to the top there. We'll get a healthy little pile of solder on each of those. Okay, now let's flip this little guy over. And some people commented in the previous video about this board holder. There's going to be a separate video on that. I'll get that uploaded. Either be the same day this gets uploaded or the next. It just takes forever for me to upload video files. But I will make a separate video on this holding fixture just to show it with where I got this, cost, everything. I really like it. It's working out really, really nice. Okay, so going to remove the connectors. Got my pliers here to grab them with. Now, of course, I need to add even more solder because I need a good bridge around there to heat that whole connector up. And like I say, I tried it with that original tip. Man, it just it just wasn't getting the job done. Like I say, this is a true torture test of a tip. Being able to heat. Come on, pliers. Trying to heat this connector, all the solder on the top here, and all the solder on the bottom there. Okay, we're staying molten on top pretty good now continuously. Starting to let loose, there she comes. So, it did the job. So actually, let me take this one out. I want to try it now with a tip that I did not have before. I had ordered one and bought one. It wasn't available yet from T&E. I'll be getting it. So this is one of the ones I selected. It's the monster chisel tip. So yeah, big monster. So this one should be able to do it even faster. So let me actually get this turned around. Like I say, that one should do it even more efficiently because it has even more thermal reserve in there. And just remember, as I always say, anytime you're using your soldering iron, make sure you always keep solder on it. You know, clean, clean, clean. But one of the big things is always make sure, especially when you're done with a soldering iron, that there is solder on the tip. You don't want to leave it bare and turned on because that will shorten the life of your tip. So, oh my God, yeah, this one's man, this critter here it definitely got some solder entered some soldering power. This is definitely the more correct size to use, I guess you could say. Now, like I say, this is not the way I would do this normally. If I had to replace that connector, I'd be using a circuit board preheater and a hot air gun. But this is a good torture test. If this tip can remove, if a soldering iron can remove this thing, you got to have some energy. The solder's molten on top. The main thing it's doing right now, and it's why it takes so long, is it has to heat the connector up the whole way to the bottom. It has to heat the ground plane up on the bottom of the circuit board to the point that then the solder can melt, and it's wiggling. Yep, it's coming out. And then finally come out. So, yeah. That worked just fine. So let me turn that temperature down. Actually, I can just turn that off. So, yeah, well, actually, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to, because I want to show that little flux remover. So, actually, let's make a mess. Why not? We'll add some regular Kester flux over here. This is Kester 186. So this is a RMA flux, or rosin mildly activated. We'll add a blob of, this is from MG Chemicals, this is a RA flux, which is rosin activated, so it's, this is the kind of stuff that can shorten the life of your tips, which is why I like the Pace tips. They hold up so well because they have such good iron plating. And this stuff isn't that bad. This is a RMA flux. This is a Kingbo RMA 218 flux. This is a gel flux that I use when I'm doing surface mount type work. Just put a little pull of that on here. I just want to get a lot of flux residue to clean off. And we'll just come in here and we'll just cook all this stuff. Get some good caked on grunge on this board. Of course, you realize we wouldn't normally be mixing fluxes. And honestly, this Kingbo, let me try that again. Kingbo RMA flux, that's one of the reasons I like it. It just comes off so easily. That stuff, even once you've soldered, it still stays kind of a gel, where the RMA and the RMA and the RA fluxes, those are a normal rosin based type flux, and they can get hard and crusty, So try and really bake some of this stuff on the board here. Evaporate all of the solvent away. Just let her sit there and cook for a while. Okay. Yeah. And I can see this over here is still a liquid. Like I say, this style flux really, this is easy to remove. I mean, shoot, you can almost just use a paper towel and wipe it off because it doesn't really dry out. Where the RA and the RMA fluxes, those are the kinds that when you're soldering, they get hard and leave a crusty film on there. Now, the RMA, both of the RMA fluxes, the Kingbo and the regular, the Kester 186, those can be left on the board. You don't have to remove those. I still always clean off all the flux residue, especially this style, like this. The problem with a lot of these fluxes is these can absorb moisture. So if you're soldering something and you don't clean the flux off, over the years, it can cause a short between pins, especially like if you're soldering surface mount components, ICs, like quad flat packs. So you want to make sure you take the flux off, because if it's absorbing moisture, there's going to be water now trapped in continuous contact with the leads and the solder joints and whatnot. And they're going to oxidize. So you always want to clean that stuff off. So let me grab the cleaner now. And I use what I normally use here. I'm going to get the camera. Now let me pull it back this way. What I normally use is just 100%, it's called a technician's grade IPA, or isopropyl alcohol. I use that. Whatever you do not want to use rubbing alcohol from the drugstore. That stuff's usually only like 60–70%. The remainder of it is water. We don't want water in our circuit boards. Now you can dry it out, yes, but the problem is, especially if you're dealing with that there's wires on the boards, that water soaks up into the, because the wire, especially stranded wire, acts just like a candle wick. And that water will, soak up into the wire, and it can stay in there for, possibly decades. Look at cars. A car that's been in a flood, a lot of times won't start to have major electrical malfunctions for a year, 2 or 3 years down the line, and then from then on it's just continuous bad wiring, getting wiring harnesses replaced. That's because that water gets up into the wire, it corrodes down at the end where there's a lot of available oxygen, and the rest of that water is now trapped inside of the wire, and it just stays in there and slowly eats the wires from the inside out. So that's why I use a technician's grade, which is it's like 99.99% isopropyl alcohol. It costs more, but if you buy it in bulk like I do in a 5-gallon, they're kind of like those box of wines. It's a bag in a box. It's like a bag container in a box. That's what that alcohol I get comes in, and then I put it in a spray bottle. But when I'm doing surface mount work, I don't need a big spray bottle, because if I'm recapping a radio, yes, I need to rinse off the entire board. I use the IPA. When I'm doing surface mount work, some of the cleaners, and I use them, you get them in a can, in a spray can with a nifty little spray top, and they have a brush built into them. The problem with those is, as you tilt the can, the straw inside the can, the pickup tube, becomes uncovered, and then it can't spray it. You're just, the propellant's coming out, but none of the cleaner. And I've actually had cans that still had liquid in them, but had no more propellant. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get it all out. This system now you can use this as a normal spray can, but you get this nifty little handle here, okay, that has the brushing in it. It's got a few of the fibers, because I've been playing with this stuff, and I like it for a couple of reasons. But anyhow, it comes with this flexible tube. I'm sure there's like probably a Teflon liner or some type of solvent resistant tube inside of this, but it has this really nice heavy-duty stainless steel jacket on the outside, so you don't have to worry about burning it or easily crushing it or anything. And it just snaps in. These are basically AccuSol tops. It's the same tops that come on dust cans and everything, but they've been modified. Basically, they just drilled a hole straight through it, and this little thing then clips into it. And when you push it back and clip it into it, that goes into the hole, makes it basically an airtight seal or liquid tight seal. And you're pushing in on it, so this is depressed all the time. That's just like you pulling the trigger. It's continuously pulled, and that's the way it would stay. You get a little rack for it that hangs on the side of your bench, so you don't have to set this up on your bench all the time. Keeps it off the bench, valuable bench space, and then even you get the little clip that snaps onto this that you can snap this thing into if you so desire. But yeah, it comes with this nice long flexible hose. So for starters, you're not holding a 12-ounce big spray can in your hand. You just got this little thing, fits right in the palm of your hand, has the brush built into it, nice stiff bristles, yeah, bristles, bristles for scrubbing the board. Basically, they look like they're probably like what are they? Normal flux brushes, like plumber's brushes. They're what, horsehair? Looks like the same thing. Usually these, they start out like that long, and I trim the bristles down so they are stiff. But yeah, they're really, it's nice, thick. There's a lot of bristles there, so I like that. Another thing, especially if you buy the kit, they have like a starter kit, comes with the handle, one spray can, the holder, and a pack of their lint-free, highly absorbent wipes. And that's these, and they're a woven. These are not, now normally I use chem wipes, except for when I'm doing surface mount work. That's the one place you really don't want to use chem wipes is surface mount, because they're low lint. They're not lint free. That's the problem. Especially if you're dealing with tiny little parts like a 0201 or an 0402 part, just getting a little piece of lint on the board before you put the part on it, that could be a make or break it bad solder joint, where it's either good or bad. If they get that little piece of lint in there, in between the lead and the circuit board surface, you could end up with a bad or a cold solder joint. So you want to use something that's lint free, and this is like a woven, I'm not sure, I'd have to look in the brochure. They make several different styles of these, but these are circuit board wipes. That's what these are made for. And they're, you know, like I say, they come, if you get the kit, they come, you know, sample pack comes with them. They're not cheap there, however. None of this is cheap. I mean, that's why I use IPA, you know, technician's grade IPA. It's a lot cheaper than these solvents, but there are cases where I'd like to use this. And I've found some advantages to this. For starters, it doesn't smell very bad. Most of these products that I've used over the years, IPA, I mean, in the volumes that I use it at times, I'm not going to say it makes you lightheaded, but there's some vapor issues there. You want to be careful because that's, of course, IPA is highly flammable, and if you get a room filled with isopropyl alcohol fumes, that's going to be explosive. So you got to be careful. You want to use it in a well-ventilated area. This stuff, at least at this formulation, this is the SPR, the super clean. It's non-flammable. Big thumbs up there. Second thing is, it has a chemical smell, don't get me wrong, but it's not bad. I actually don't mind this stuff, and now I'm kind of one of those people that doesn't mind the scent, the smell of solvents and oils and grease and whatnot, but some of those cleaners, man, they're hard on the nose. This isn't. Actually has a halfway pleasant, almost citrusy, and they do make a citrus-based one. This isn't it, but it's almost kind of got maybe a slight citrus scent to it, something like that. But works really well. So we got lots of flux residue there. You just give her a squirt, get a little bit of the solvent out, and you can see that stuff's caked on there because it's still there. Even, you know, it's not liquid. Now this stuff over here, yeah, the instant I touch that, you can see that RMA, that Kingbo flux, because like I say, that stays basically, a gel is gone, but the rest of this stuff's still on there. And like I said, you saw how much flux I put on there, so there is a super heavy duty layer of this stuff on here. Yeah, the RMA flux is already off. The RA flux over here, that residue's still there a little bit. But I really baked that stuff on there. And like I say, I had a lot of it. And you have to remember, there's also flux in the solder that I was using. Still one, looks like one little spot right there. Now, like I say, this is almost a torture test for this stuff. The amount of flux residue, that is not normal, normal flux residue. Normally you'd have just a little bit, and that would be it. Clean it over there, just clean the whole board off. Though this thing will probably be going into the recycle bin. Probably won't be using this again. Actually, on the bottom side, yeah, there's a little bit of flux residue there, because remember, I did solder that, so that would be more practical and more of a demonstration of normal cleanup. Okay, right there, actually. There's some crusty flux residue. Right there. Okay. And that stuff's been on there for Lord knows how long, because that's what is on the other side there. Connector, it looks like. Or at least that's what it feels like. Have to flip the board over to look again. But yeah, that stuff's been on there because this circuit board is like early 1980s vintage, early to mid 1980s. So that flux has been on there for a long, long time. So that's a good test of a flux remover. And it's coming off fairly easily. Now IPA, I can tell you right now, just from experience, it would have taken a lot more scrubbing than that to get it off. Yeah, it's gone. That cleaned up very fast. This also does not leave, if you're familiar with using IPA, anybody that's used that before, even the good stuff, even if you're using the technician's grade, you'll usually notice there's just a white film, you know, on the board. It looks white and hazy. You use this stuff, man, this stuff dries fast. This towel is almost dry already. That's just amazing how fast that stuff dries out. Now I can see there is a little bit of residue there, but then again, that's probably not, actually it's tacky. That's because there's so much flux trapped in this rag. I'm basically just spreading it around the board. So what I should do is come back in with a clean one, actually just, and dry it off. So yeah, no residue. But that's another selling point for them, was it does not leave that white chalky residue. Normally what I would do is here, when I'm cleaning a radio, you usually see the boards, they're nice and shiny. Well, they weren't when I got done cleaning all the flux residue off. They had that white haze on the board. Actually, what I usually do is I come in with a surgeon's brush. I've got the fume extractor here, so I don't have to worry about the dust fumes. I'm sucking them into my solder fume extractor. But what I'll do is I take this surgeon's brush. See, even it has the logo. Got that when I got several of these. I don't know if it shows up in the camera. It's got the military. What is that? The coiled snakes and the wings and whatnot, says U.S. on it. But yeah, I got those in the military years ago back when I was in the Army. But this is what I use. I just lightly go over the board like that, and that dust gets knocked off. But that's one of the advantages of that stuff. You don't have that problem with that stuff. It doesn't leave that film. And he'd included one of the flyers for it. And this doesn't even have all the products that they have. Yeah, the trigger grip can, there's the little snap mount thing, there's the little like wire basket thing that you'd hang on the side of your bench. If you get like the introductory kit there, it comes with a can of the solvent, the trigger grip, the cleaning wipes, and the mounting bracket kit. They have a lead-free flux remover. They've got the Super Duty flux remover, which is what that one is over there. They got several of them. General Purpose Flux Remover, Universal Flux Remover, VOC Free Flux Remover, Polar Flux Remover. There's No Clean Flux Remover. There's Alcohol Enhanced Flux Pro Clean, IPA based. Yeah, so this is one I want to try. Actually, this one is rather expensive. That one that I'm using there, that's one of the most expensive ones out of all of these flux cleaners. I'm going to get a couple cans of this, probably the Universal. I think if I remember right, I'd looked it up. This was cheaper, so I want to try this stuff, see how it works for me. But they also have this slow-drying citrus base, which actually, when you're doing really nasty, crusty stuff on a board, that might be good as long as it's a good cleaner, that it doesn't dry out as fast. That's the one thing with flux removers is IPA dries fast. That stuff dries even faster. So this is natural, biodegradable citrus cleaner. Cleans fluxes, conformal coatings, adhesives, residues, glues, dirt, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And they got some other stuff, contact cleaner. They make some other little things. They got a tidy pen for adhesive, label removers, glass cleaner, optical, reflow oven cleaning, aqueous stencil meaning solder stencils, general dusters, circuit chiller, anti-static circuit chiller. Yeah, the wipes, the dry lint-free wipes. Like I said, they got lots of different ones. Circuit board, lint-free wipes, medium duty, ultra soft, stencil cleaning, medium density, lint-free stencil. Yeah, there's just all different kinds. Like that's best just go to the website and look at it. But yeah, like I say, you gave that to me, so give it a try. I like it. I really like this. That's just, man, that's one reason I usually don't use that stuff. It costs more, but it's just I hated the cans, having to use them. This is handy. And I wouldn't use this for my normal repair work on a radio. Like I say, I'd use a whole can, clean it off entire, a lot of times or close to it, trying to clean off some of the amounts of flux when I redo an entire radio. But this would be really nice when I'm working on surface mount radios. I only need to clean up a small area. I can get this thing down in there, clean up the area, just come in with the wipe, clean it off, bam, done. So yeah, I like that. And of course he's the Pace rep, so he's got to give me a bunch of the Pace catalogs. One of the nice thing about Pace, I can never say enough about their customer support. It's great, but their support for older products, that's one thing that's always amazed me. You call them, they still make tips that fit desoldering irons that were made in like the early 80s or 1970s. I mean, I gave Buddy an old Pace soldering and desoldering machine. You can still buy tips from Pace for that thing. It was made decades ago. But yeah, so this is like the full product parts catalog, has all the replacement, gasket seals, pumps, because pumps, if you do a lot of desoldering like I do, trust me, eventually you're going to wear out the vacuum pump in your desoldering machine. They make rebuild kits for those, so you don't have to buy a whole new expensive vacuum pump motor. You can just get the little cheap kit in a Ziploc bag that has the diaphragm or the vanes that wear out. But yeah, they got parts for all the stuff. Stencils, they make the thermobond kits or the circuit frame kits. So, and I made, because I use these, I may do a separate video on those one day. Preformed, these are for doing circuit trace repairs. Very nice. Been using those for a long time. I really like them. And that's another product. I mean, it's been around for a long time. But yeah, SMT and Area Rework. So yeah, these are the big monster expensive machines. Yeah, something I'll never own. I'll just never be able to afford stuff like this. Not a one-man repair. And honestly, I don't need something like that. I'm not doing the type of repair work where I need this type of equipment. You know, if I was working on maybe laptops on a daily basis, yeah. Now, preheaters, yes, that's something like this. Like I said, I'd like to get an IR heater, because yeah, it's not something you'd want to normally see in a Pace video, or at least a video that's about Pace stuff. That's the one thing I own that's not Pace. Hot air. Heiko. Actually, I've got a Heiko and Hosan, which is made in Japan. Actually, they're both made in Japan, the Hosan and the Heiko. That's one thing I want to get. So that'll probably be after I get my, save up and get the new Rode and Schwartz Communications test set. There's going to be a hot air. Like I said, I don't need something like this. This system setup like I have with the Heiko right now is what I want to replace. I want to get a new, preheater, probably one like this. Yeah, that would work. But one like this with the built-in board holder, probably. They have two different, at least for this style. They have the one for people that like analog, because some people do like to just be able, and I need a little bit more air, and you can just reach over and turn the knob up to turn the air up. So, this one has three controls: on, off, heat, and airflow. It doesn't get much simpler. That's what that Heiko has over there. I'd probably go with this one because of just the likelihood of BGAs starting to show up in radios eventually. It's going to happen. I know that. I already work on some things that already have BGAs, but it's coming to the two-way radio world. So I'm going to need to be ready for that. So I'll probably get one like this, because like the Heiko over there, that one's digital. That has I can set step profiles for heat, slowly ramping up the temperature. So that has very good temperature control. So yeah, I'd probably get one like this. And of course, I'd need the. This would be nice to have, the whole convection rework system. Yeah, again, probably going to be too expensive. Probably what I would get, probably this would be it right here. This setup like this right here. A board preheater, the stand for holding the handpiece, just like I did with the Heiko, I have for the Heiko. The base unit, the entire system. That's probably what I would use. So, yeah, I need to price that out and see how much it is, but that's probably the one I'd get. And what's this one? Solder, desolder, rework. Okay, so this has... Oh, and not sure if I mentioned this or not. In the first video, the ADS200 system down there with this handpiece. As of this moment, this is the only thing they have that fits that power station down there. It is in the works. They are going to make a mini tweeze for use with the ADS200. Middle of the year, I think I now read that online. I completely forgot to ask the rep, Drake, when he was here. But I think I read online that the mini tweeze that's going to be available for this system will be released somewhere around the middle of the year. So that's on the way. So, but yeah, they have, this has, yeah, I've got that. I've got that. I've got that. Got it. I have probably pretty much everything in this flyer. I don't have a ADS100. I do have a 50. I don't have a 100. I do have a 75 and a 115. Yes, I have lots of Pace stations. I do have the 350. I don't know if that's even in here. I've got some older ones. I've got the what is this one under here? Yeah, I got a MBT201 under the bench that I still use at this bench. And I have, of course, the Pace, actually those. I've got 3 of, there are actually 4? I've lost count. I've got spares. I think I've got 4 of the base units for the PRC 2000 system. I've accumulated. I love those things, man. They just do everything. Nitrogen soldering, I have no experience. Maybe I should read up on that, but yeah, I'm really not sure what's up with nitrogen soldering. I'll need to check in on that. It's not like we're doing NASA soldering here. We're not launching radios into orbit. But yeah, so in any case there, I just wanted to, like I say, let everybody know that the problem I had quickly fixed. You know, Paces, they were bam, like that. They were on the ball, got that taken care of. Happy customer, and you know, I will remain to be probably till the day I die. I'll you know, that's one of those. I'll die with two things in my hand, a gun in one hand and a soldering iron in the other, and it'll be a Pace, I can guarantee you that. And like I say, Drake gave me this little thing to try out. Man, that's just high. That's too high speed, man. I really like this. So there you go. There's a follow-up on the ADS200 system, and another little quickie product review. Like I say, he gave me that to try out. And honestly, what kind of salesman would he have been if he didn't convince me to buy something else? So, Pace, yeah, you got a good salesman there in Drake.